Hello, hello, mis cielitos, and welcome back. Coco is here, and I am continuing Raging Loop. Last we left off, we had finished the second loop, and, as expected, things didn't turn out so well. Uh, didn't expect the tragic end to come quite in that form, so, yep. Kudos for that surprise. So now what I want to do is I want to try and just get a look at some of the other. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Get a look at some of the other questions that we did not do. Where was it? The sacrifice voting too. Alright, so here's Declare Guardian. I want to go back to... because there were a couple people that we did not examine. I'm trying to get back to that. Because it should be the path, since there's the option to declare the guardian there. And here's sacrifice worlds. Resignation. I'm not remembering that one. And then yeah, here's the ending. We got 15. Alright, well, we'll just go ahead and see. Ah. I guess this is more recent one of the decisions. So yeah, we'll go with this. I suddenly opened the door. Yeah, I did it. Of course I would. I didn't want to see that ending again. Rikako-san was crying. Her voice had been clear and composed, so I had assumed that she wasn't feeling anything. I was wrong. She was merely hiding it. You promised not to open the door. I had intended to keep that promise, but you both used it to make me look like a bad guy, so I changed my mind. What's with this aura? Why does it feel like you're trying to be hated because of your past, just to make the breakup cleaner? Is it a Fujiyoshiism or something? I've rejected tons of bothersome women like Chamie-chan in my life. If it weren't for the situation, I'd be going nuts right now. Poor Chamie. I'm just about degenerate enough to decide someone like you is too rare to let go, so you should cut it out. Crap. I overdid it a bit. Well, I have no idea what you're thinking, but hearing all of that made me value you more. Huh? I'd have loved to say that to Chamie-chan too, but that'd make me a cheater, so I'll do something else instead. I'll win her over with some weird-as-hell reasoning and introduce her to a friend of mine. He's a bit more degenerate than I, but I think they'll get along. Degenerate is a really strong word, Fusaishi. Why are you just tossing that around? Like, I don't know if this is something where he's just using it loosely, if the translators don't really see that as a very strong word, or if we are supposed to take it at face value. And he and his friend are really just that bad. I do not know. Wait, maybe Cheech would be better for her. If Jamie-chan doesn't mind slightly ugly Paldies, she'd have someone really loyal and... Haruaki-sama, I do not think I understand. But why would you tell me that you like me? Now, of all times. Like I said, I want to play this by my own rules. I don't want someone else telling me how I should feel. Even if everyone else hates something, I'll happily take it. If you want me to hate you, find a better way to go about it. You're the one who said that you love me, so you better take some responsibility for that. You dumb idiot. Rikako-san's a moron. You alive? Ah, he finally broke. What? What was that about? Are you a fool? Yeah, seriously, what's that about? That's my line. Anyway, enough with the personal grudges. Can we consider the bet still on? The one where we'd win if we survived and could ask the other for whatever we wanted. If we survive, we can ask for whatever we want, and I'm not planning on asking for anything that'd ruin it. You are such a strange person. Terisawa-sama was surely right to call you a bad boy. I didn't confirm nor deny that. Even so, hearing that from you makes me happy enough. I'm satisfied. Not good enough? Well, maybe. Adult love wasn't solid enough to play out through just jokes and improvisation. Then again, we adults could survive without needing anything fancy. It was a virtue as well as a vice. Please give me your answer when you survive tomorrow. You might be killed by the wolves tonight. You took a gamble and revealed yourself to protect Meiko and I. If you don't wake up tomorrow, it would mean that I wasn't worthy of asking you something like this. I'll back off if that happens. Haruaki-sama. There. I was now at a key point. This tragedy-drunk heroine wouldn't die today. It would be the most unfortunate, Kaori-san. Honestly, I wasn't sure how to feel about that. But I would test it, this once. At the very least, you grant me one final gift. No, I will survive the night, with that as my goal in life. It might be imprudent of me, but it makes me happy. I was the imprudent one here. After all, I was making moves on a girl that could die tonight. Anyway, goodbye. Wait. Anything else? I could finally get to the main matter at hand. There's something I'd like to ask you as a night watcher. Oh. We're not being allowed insight on that. It was the day after I did the prep work. I approached the plaza, met up with Yoshitsugu-kun, acted surprised when I heard the bad news, and once again saw the remains of poor, unfortunate Kaori-san. I then listened to the brothers opening up. Saw them find the letter. Noticed that the fingers were placed in the same position as last time. This had to be Chiemi's idea. In this particular timeline, she didn't seem to be anything more than a bloodthirsty madwoman. I felt like she'd been the one who decided that destroying the entire body was the way to go. And Mochi didn't hesitate to agree. I badly underestimated just how warped that boy's personality was. But again, is that how they actually are, or is this just the influence? Don't know. I think it is just the influence. That's what I'm leaning towards. Or maybe it's one of those things that it exacerbates what's already there. But if so, then a lot of these people just kind of end up being different degrees of the same. Or Mamiya-san. I knew she was an enemy, but I couldn't help but feel sympathy for her. Thus began the feast of the Yomi Purge. Yasunaga-kun presented the scenario set up by the wolves. I turned it around. Everything was about the same as last time. If I didn't change my words, things would go exactly the same way as last time. Of course they would. The people I was talking to were the exact same. Strangely enough, I also said the exact same things without relying much on memories from last time. Or maybe it wasn't that strange. After all, though I had the memories of the previous loop, I was the exact same person. I don't know if that really counts for much, because... being something as simple as a different mood can make you say different things. Even if you're intending to otherwise. You forget things you've already said and repeat them without knowing. If I'd somehow lost the memories of the final moments of the loop, I'd definitely be heading for the same ending right now. But in this case, it didn't matter if everything was the same this time. I could just go with the flow and do the same thing as last time. After all, it was already over. And that's what they were betting on, I assume. Unfortunately for them, it didn't work. Just like the last time, everyone focused on Chikamochi, who had a half smile on his face. That seems really one-sided. I mean, we have no proof that Hasana and Richan are what they claim to be. And just like last time, he was bringing up arguments that had already been shot down. And maybe you can actually read Mommy Cowdy's fingers some other way. Mochi. And just like last time, Chiemi. That's enough. It's getting cringeworthy. Then... yeah. Let's kill them all! They went and did it. They drew the guns from their sleeves. I'd been wondering why Mochi was in his school uniform this time. This made me realize it was to hide the gun. The barrels and grips on them both were cut really short, probably for the same purpose. One of them was aimed in our direction, while the other was aimed at Kanzo-san, who was already charging at them. Their intense change paralyzed everyone except him and Takumi-san, who would now make a move and die to the shotgun blasts. However, that didn't happen this time. You know, I had the thought that that's what they did, but honestly, it seems weird that Chiemi, being this gun expert, wouldn't notice that the barrels were empty. The guns didn't fire anything. A moment after Chiemi's expression warped with shock, Kanzo-san punched Mochi, while Takumi-san tackled Chiemi. Ugh. Her lightweight body was thrown backwards and hit the wall. Takumi-san quickly grabbed the shotgun, aimed it at the floor, and pulled the trigger to ignite the shell in the other chamber. Once again, the gun didn't fire. He frowned, then opened it up, removed the cartridges, and threw them away along with the gun. Kanzo-san handled his situation a different way. He simply pointed Mochi's gun back at its former master. So you're a wolf. His face swollen due to the punch, he was crouching down and glaring at Kanzo-san. Bring the rope! Let me go! Let me go! Why, damn it! Takumi-san took advantage of her staggering and pushed her down. She couldn't move at all. Things became a bit disorderly as we tied them up, but now it was relatively calm in here. What the hell was that about? Those words weren't directed at anyone, but everyone besides me related to him. These are dummies. Oh, okay. Okay. Kanzo-san said that while looking at the shells from the shotgun he'd taken from Mochi. Everyone understood what that meant. You got the wrong ones. No way! Exactly. There was no way the cartridges she'd checked just yesterday were switched up in a single evening. The only one who had any idea what was responsible for this paranormal phenomenon was Rikako-san. Last night, I'd asked her to catch Jamie and have a cat fight with her. That gave me the time I needed to go into Jamie's room and mess with her equipment. A lot of it depended on luck, and I needed a couple loops, but I somehow pulled it off. It wasn't fair in the least, but my life was at risk here, and I actually died, so I didn't really care. Everyone continued to talk about how the shells were replaced, but since I decided to stay quiet, they didn't reach a conclusion. Now everyone was left with the harsh truth that these two were wolves who just tried to kill everyone here. Thus, everyone began talking about how to handle them. Yasunaga-kun suggested we tie them up and lock them in somewhere. He argued that, now that we knew they were wolves, all we had to do was prevent any further murders was to make them unable to move. Kanzo-san was thoroughly against that, suggesting that we hang them over today and tomorrow. When asked for his reasoning, he insisted that wolves had to be hanged, and their argument wasn't going anywhere. Most of Kanzo-san's decisions were influenced by the legend and his own experience, so he didn't have a proper way to deal with a situation that's unorthodox. Yasunaga-kun, on the other hand, was bound by conscience and emotions, making Kanzo-san's option unacceptable for him. That left me no choice but to weigh in. May I say something? Now everyone, even Kanzo-san, lended an ear to my words. It took too long for me to get to this point. Makishima-san, you believe it's important to kill only one per day and not any more, right? Well, Yasunaga-kun just doesn't want to kill them at all. Yes, I admit it. Now that the culprits are no longer a supernatural phenomenon, I believe we should leave their judgment to the rule of law. What they did is unforgivable, but we shouldn't be the ones to punish them. We only did the previous hangings because it was an emergency and we had no other choice. Since they aren't a threat to us when bound, we can just leave them like that and wait for the mist to clear. And if it doesn't, we will be left with no choice but to consider it another emergency that requires drastic measures. The boy was talking sense, but... First, I'm not so sure if binding them would be effective. What do you mean? The Game Master here, Great Lord Shinai, can unlock our front doors. Isn't it natural to think he can undo any bindings, too? That's... Also, if we only hang one each day, one human would die tonight. They have no choice, they have no chance of winning, but they'd take this kill. No, we wouldn't. Yeah, it's pointless. They were so easy to read. Yasunaga-kun, do you want to know why I'm so certain that they would kill? Yes, do tell. It's because these wolves are extremely cruel. I walked up to them. Remember Hisako Mamiya-san? She suddenly claimed to be the snake on the second day and began acting all strange. He was probably ordered to do it by Chiemi Serisawa. There was some noise in the room. Chiemi was still hanging her head. She probably told Mamiya-san that being a snake was safe, even though she knew that Kanzo-san was ready to hang anyone claiming to be the snake. And it actually led to Tae-san, an innocent, getting hanged. You planned that, didn't you? Does it matter? Mamiya-san then died that night, and that was probably her doing too. Why would you think that? Because she's an outsider. She couldn't trust her, and it was possible that she'd readily betray her. It was highly likely that she would have been hanged the next day. Hanzo-san was pushing for it after all. These two tricked Mamiya-san into being a scapegoat, so she probably didn't trust them and was afraid of them. It was completely possible that she'd reveal who the other wolves were during her hanging. That's why you killed her at night. You basically silenced her. But that would mean that they killed two in one night. No, she was subjected to the corruption. The wolves must have rules too, and she went against them. Or rather, was made to go against them by these two. You're just guessing. Whatever. Please deny it, damn it! It's a pain, so I'll say it. Yeah, he's completely right. Wow, Haruaki-san, you're so cool. And Yasu-kun's even more soft-brained than I thought. Chieni. We had our reasons for doing what we did, and we had to keep doing it until the end. So stop it with the questions. They're a pain. Chiemi, you damn! Please stop. I understand how you feel, but that'd be a waste of time. You can't reach an understanding with those who become wolves. So, what are we doing with them? My suggestion is that we cut off one's limbs and hang the other one. If we do that, the one without limbs won't be able to go around, even if unbound, so we'd probably be safe. And if we hang the one tomorrow, the wolves would be exterminated. The mist should clear by the day after and... Saishi! Yes? What did you just say? I'm saying that we should keep one from walking around and using weapons by cutting off their limbs. Huh? What the hell was with their reaction? Is there a problem with that? Well, that's one of those things, Fusaishi, that... It'll get things done, I guess. But to be able to say that so casually... Yeah. Pretty fucked up. You seriously saying we should cut off Chikamochi or Chiemi's limbs? Huh? Yes. Wouldn't that be enough? If we remove them at the base, they couldn't even crawl, right? You really are a fucking lunatic. Huh? That is way too cruel. I think Fusaishi was probably, like, banking. I don't know if he's, like... So either this is telling of his character, or he's assuming that everyone would go along with it since he just thinks that even the non-wolves are willing to just do whatever. Because the wolves definitely seem to have their personality warped. Hence why Yasunaga of the first loop and this one are significantly different. But I guess we'll see. Huh? I understand they are wolves, but that is a step too far. What?
Usayuki-san, you're scary.
Why? Rikako-san, would cutting off their limbs make us targets of the corruption? I have not heard of anything that implies that. Excuse me, but aren't you the ones who hanged a couple people just because of history and legends? But we put them to rest. I've heard that hanging is actually a really painful way to go. Even if it wasn't, they were being lynched because of a popular vote. That alone must have been utterly terrifying. The wolves murdered so cruelly, yet you're all acting like this. You're all pretty good-natured, aren't you? Wait, that's a good thing, isn't it? Humane? Oh, I see. They all fell silent. But even I could understand that there was something within them that made them averse to my idea. Can we break their limbs instead? The effect would be the same, right? Or perhaps Nosato-sensei could poison them in a way that would make them die to right about tomorrow. Stop it! I can't ensure that they would survive that. The shock from the pain alone might kill them. Now I happen to be a doctor. I cannot poison. We're not like the wolves. I see, I see. I understand. I seem to have misunderstood you all. What now, though? I guess someone's dying today. This was such a pain. Why did they argue against my suggestion if they had none of their own? If it must be done, I shall take it upon myself. No, I'll do it. Don't push yourselves. We mustn't do that! Stop it! You all, we can still think this through. It's fine, that's enough. I'll die myself. Can you hang Mochi first? No one should get the corruption then. Wow, clear-headed until the end, huh? Huh? What are you planning now? I don't want to get my limbs cut off. Even wolves were afraid of some things, huh? Alright, I'll apologize to Haru-chan when I get to her. You're not going to the same place as her. I'm not? Ri-chan? The hanged are saved. The ones killed by wolves are not. You wanna switch? I don't care enough. It's fine. Regardless of the way, it'll be over once you die. So I'll take it upon myself to kill you. Why did this have to happen? Just because. What's that supposed to mean? I really don't get it. But I felt like we had no choice. Yasunaga Oribe punched Shikamochi Kamoshida. Sorry, Yasun. I really am. Sorry. Rise not. Yasunaga-kun pushed him forward. A moment later, the rope went taut. It shook for a moment, then slowly swayed back and forth, and finally stopped completely. Yasunaga-kun cut the rope. From the mist below, I heard the sound of something soft collapsing, then hitting the shallow water below. You're next, Chiemi.
Alrighty. Isn't this the same as directly killing her? Who knows? Jinai-san or whatever will be the judge of that, right?
And you're just gonna die just like that, without even saying sorry or anything.
Yeah, that's the kind of girl I am, right? You knew that from the time I almost killed the brat in Kami Fujiyoshi, didn't you? Well, I went on to act like a good girl after that. Fooled you good, didn't I? How's it feel? I knew what kind of guy Mochi was and kinda used it to control him. Don't get mad at him, okay? It's all my fault. Hate me all you want.
Looking backwards, you stepped up to the cliff.
Congrats, Rikako-san. The obstacle's out of the way, and it looks like it'll all work out, doesn't it?
That is not what the Feast of the Yomi Purge is about. We, who live off the mountain, have been given a burden, and we must bear and pay respects to it for all eternity. I am here to simply take that burden.
Then, if I'm born again, I'll come kill you directly this time. You're the last of the spiders, aren't you? You'll have some descendants, teach them whatever grand nonsense they taught you, and wait for me to come get you.
There's no need to be like that.
Shut up! I'll kill you now! Joking. See ya.
Chiemi,
What?
what is God? Her pupils instantly shrunk.
I knew it. You really are the scariest thing here, Haruaki-san. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you all so much for letting me kill myself.
She took 3 steps back.
You have no idea how scared I was when I thought my limbs were gonna get cut off. Seriously? Haruaki-san. If only we were wolves together.
I have a feeling that's gonna happen. I don't want that.
See ya.
She turned around and ran, as fast as possible, into the mist, and jumped. Rise not. I'm going. I alone turned around. Huh? But you still haven't. I didn't want to hear it. He'd probably fallen into a world different from ours. I got the impression I wouldn't hear a sound. I didn't want to listen to the echoing silence. We then went on to clean up Kaori-san's body. After spacing out a bit, we all cut up some veggies and ate them uncooked. It was hard to make a fire in the mist, and as people of Fujiyoshi, no one felt like using the fires other than the one in the watering hole. And everyone was averse to using the dining hall. Thus, everyone went to sleep. No. For the first time since the feast began, none of us could sleep. Morning came without us getting any rest. And the mist was gone. No one had died, of course. Everything was as the legend said. With the Yomotsu Okami gone, peace came back to the human village. However, it was hard to celebrate it. Yudai Hashimoto, Tai Yamawaki, Hisako Mamiya, Haru Makishima, the old man who cried wolf, Kaori Oribe, Chikamochi Kamoshida, and Chiemi Serisawa. A whole 8 people died, even if 2 of them were outsiders, the settlement had suffered great losses. Everyone who had an aversion to using fire to dispose of any remaining objects that carried signs of murder. So it was decided that they would be buried. The tatami, the floorboards, the futon, all of it. We also ended up making new gravestones for those we had lost. Ikako-san had told us that the graveyard near the hanging pine was full of the feast victims, though there was nothing under the stones. So, has he passed away or something? Yes, it was a peaceful death. Those who died normally would be burned at the crematorium in Kamifujiyoshi, run by the Higuchi, then buried here. Those who didn't would be thrown into Saranaga and simply vanish. Making sure no one saw me, I went down to Saranaga. There was nothing. No corpses or belongings. Just like last time, Saranaga was just a thin, shallow stream. However, I did find one thing. Oh. It was a pendant with the Yomotsu Okami symbol on it. What was this? Was someone wearing it? What did it mean for someone in Fujiyoshi to wear something like this? At this point, I didn't feel like investigating it anymore. Was that strange? No. I felt like that was just how things were here. Days passed of us working on this and that. We somehow survived thanks to the food from the field, and right as we were finishing up our work, help finally arrived. Kami Fujiyoshi sent some people to remove the landslide, blocking the road, and now they'd finally made it. Are you well? It'd been a while since I saw Shoji Higuchi. He looked as friendly as always. That does not look friendly! That is not a friendly-looking dude! Absolutely not! No, he is a freak. Oop. Shoji, what took you so long? We wanted to work faster, but we had some unexplainable accident while trying. We were only able to make progress after the mist cleared. So, is everyone all right? No one answered. Higuchi began looking sympathetic and started giving some orders to his people. Eventually, we were brought to Kamifujiyoshi and were made to spend a few days like refugees in some community center. Apparently, this was temporary. The village head said they needed time to clean up Yasumizu after the disaster. I really appreciated the 3 daily meals they gave us from the nearby watering hole, and sleeping in a place without any mist at all was pleasant. The food was strangely fancy, and the people bringing it seemed somewhat humble. They'd always looked down on the people of Yasumizu, but now that we'd stopped the Yomi invasion, they actually revered us. That was just a guess, though, and I was still locked up in here with nothing to do. One day, I was just thinking about that. That officer must be feeling probably extra guilty, since what he feared happening did happen. One day, I actually got to see the officer. It actually felt kind of nostalgic at this point. Huh? You're alive. That's great. This is yours, right? It's no use to us, so take it back already. My bike. The weeks of exposure to the elements had left it looking really shabby. I had nothing better to do, so I decided to clean it. We are almost done restoring Yasumizu, so you will be able to return soon. Precisely, son.
Why not drive far away for a change of pace? I actually wanted to return to Yasumi's though. When I told Takumi-san that I'd take Meiko to the police once everything was settled, and then return, he told me that I didn't have to. Rikako-san said she'd help him work the fields, and he accepted it. Kanzo-san fixed his rifle and began hunting again. Yasunaga-kun resumed going to school. Yoshitsugu-kun moved to the dorm and said he'd start going to school again too, joining his brother. Kinosuke would, as planned, become a part-time doctor at Kami Fujiyoshi's clinic. When Kanzo-san returned from our shelter, Kinosuke actually looked after him like a proper doctor, which was some impressive character development. Anyway, since it all seemed to be fine here, Takumi-san told me that I didn't have to return. Well, I can't say I don't have stuff for you to do. But you have a place to return to, right? I really wouldn't blame you if you didn't come back. But keep in mind that you have a woman waiting for you here. And honestly, I'm not sure I want to do nothing but farm with her. I'll be back right after I'm done with some business. I did consider returning to the life I had, but I figured I should stay here instead. That's... I mean... I guess? I personally wouldn't want to, because I wouldn't want to experience another feast. But honestly, my first thought even was just like, wow. It's fortunate that you can just do that. You must... That's not something that can easily be done when you went to school in the States and got saddled with so much debt loan debt. And again, that's what my best friend did. But they also had significantly less than I did in terms of debt. And since my father was a co-signer, if I were to do anything like that, it would all fall to him. So yeah, I can't do that. Well, I guess I'll see you then. Aw, he looks happy. Your turn. Huh? She was hiding behind that tree? With her pale skin turning rosy, he meekly walked up to me. Miko, stay in good health. Hey, what about me?
One-chan, you're supposed to talk to Fusayuki-san.
Even she understood it. How precocious of her. I mean, if you're gonna come back, you're gonna come back. I assume she's saying that to Mako since this is supposed to be a goodbye. Haruaki-sama, please stay in good health. I'd assumed that the fact that she wasn't treating this like our final meeting was a step forward. But no, I wouldn't let that fly. I hadn't survived just to say goodbye to you. Those words aren't enough for me. Please come visit every now and then. She sure was persistent. You're being a sore loser right now, Rikako-san. We're close enough to call each other by name. If you take just one more step forward, I might decide to do something big. There were a lot of things I wanted to give to her and take from her. I was sure I'd find happiness if we made proper exchanges. After all, that was the sole light I'd ever seen in that dreadful mist. I wouldn't give up on it no matter what. Haruaki-sama. Yes? Because I would be lonely.
I don't like that line. Yes, you'd be lonely your whole life. Because I love you. Yes, you weren't even allowed to love anyone. Okay, okay, I think I interpreted that previous line differently. uh, wait, did I misread that? Okay, I didn't. I totally misread that. I thought I thought that said yes, you'd be lonely your whole life. Oh, and I was like, what the hell, Haruaki? What did you? Yes, you aren't even allowed to love anyone. And because this is all new to me. Yes, for the first time ever, you sought your own happiness. Please, come back to me. I couldn't control myself. Whoa, showing off, huh? Takumi's just been here.
Kissy!
I let her go, and she looked up at me with angry eyes. She'd become a lot more expressive, and I found it nothing if not lovable. I would live out the rest of my life with her. This journey brought me to something unexpected, and led me to a really happy ending. Nope, it's not that easy. I promise. Once I deal with everything outside, I will come back here. Please do. Then it will be my turn to say something. I understand. I shall believe and wait for you. Barring the Higuji's help, I got everything I needed, secured Mako behind me with a children's belt, and left Fujiyoshi. Upon arriving at the closest city, I presented her as a lost child. They asked me questions, of course. I omitted some things, but didn't lie at all. They thought I seemed shady, but I was able to prove my identity, and they let me off.
Bye-bye, Fusayuki-san!
She waved all smiles. She still couldn't get my name right. This reminded me that nothing that happened in Yasumizu had drawn police attention. I had no idea who'd done or didn't do what to make it turn out like that, but I didn't care anymore. It was just the way it was. What was up with the looping business anyway? Was killing the wolves the condition for ending the loop? If that was the case, then it was caused by something that wanted the wolves to lose no matter what. No other explanation fit. Who would that be, though? Great Lord Shinai? That'd fit the story, but it often seemed like he didn't have a horse in this race. Also, if his only way to help the humans was to give out the guardians and send me, then he was a seriously bothersome god. Would I go back in time if I died now? I didn't even care to try, not to mention that situations in which you could easily die were the abnormal ones. Also, I'd actually left the village this time. That made the current situation different than any so far, and it was best to assume I wouldn't loop again. Yeah, it's not exactly like you can safely test that out. That was probably just the way it was. But boy, is it gonna suck if he does, like, live out the rest of his life, die of old age, and then he has to come back here. I stayed in that city for a while and contacted certain people. That's a vague sentence. Telling them that I would now be a farmer in a remote village. That got me in some serious trouble. But Yasumizu got no service anyway, so it wasn't like they could do anything about it. I'd cut ties with my previous life in 3 days, then entered a jeweler's store and bought the ring with the nicest design. It had a gem as red as her eyes, covered in gems as clear as her hair. Oh we certainly are. I already thought we were jumping the gun with him just being like, I love ya, but my god. I can't really believe, like, I can understand deep affection especially considering that she saved him twice over, but don't conflate gratitude with love. That's what I would feel was happening in this situation if this were real life. It wasn't particularly expensive, but I felt it suited her better than any of the others. Then, just as I'd promised, I returned to Fujiyoshi. I went to the officer, talked to Higuchi-san, asked the mountain path, arrived at Yasumisu, and saw something I couldn't believe. Why? Why? Why was everyone dead? Why was Yasunaga Oribe dead? He'd survived after saying goodbye to his best friend and the crow that was a sister to him, hadn't he? Why was Yoshitsugu Oribe dead? He made it through his mother's death, found common ground with his brother, and had his whole life ahead of him, didn't he? Why was Kanzo Makishima dead? He'd lost his granddaughter, protected Yasumisu, and was about to live out his twilight years in peace, wasn't he? Why was Takumi Muro dead? The likable guy had discarded his inner discord, believed in himself, and helped bring us to victory, hadn't he? Why were all of their heads split open? It was supposed to be over. We ended it all. That was how it was supposed to be, right? I pegged. Hoped that someone was still alive. If no one was, what would have been the point of those sacrifices? Found one. A survivor. He was covered in blood. And held an axe covered in blood and gray matter. The wolves are coming! I then went on to murder him. After all, on one of the support beams, in the hall I'd found him in, was her body, hanging helplessly. Oh wow, that's the most... Holy shit, look at that axe! Oh my god. Like, you know, usually it was just silhouettes, but damn. Anyway, what the fuck's going on? And look at Fusaishi's face. Was her body hanging helplessly. What the hell? What was all this? Why had I thought that I had it all in the bag? Everything was dead. Everything was lost. And I hadn't reached an end yet. Shinai-san's guardians are. The outside was shrouded in mist. 1 snake, 2 monkey, 3 crow, 4 spider. As though led by something, 5 prepare for the feast when the evening mists arrive. I pass the empty plaza. 6, the badger runs along late with Nair as a fix. The one we never accounted for. Went down the barren hill. 7, the corrupt Yomibito rise to oppose the mountain.
Did you come to see me? I'm so happy.
8, death of the damned Yomibito is the mandate.
Did you believe you could escape?
fall, rise, rise, again and again. 9, 1 soul per day now to bind. Or I guess maybe it did count. Forcing her to jump. 10, the mist rise away again. As I threw myself into Saranaga's mists. No! Haruaki-sama! I felt like I could hear her voice. Rikako-san. I couldn't fulfill my promise. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't cry for me. I couldn't make you happy. I couldn't do anything to help you feel normal happiness. I couldn't dispel the darkness of Fujiyoshi. And I couldn't even get close to the core of the mystery surrounding it. How? What could I have done here? I needed a new path. I had to find one that would lead me to the truth. Okay, I guess there's the real end. I should have figured that since we didn't get credits last time, it wasn't an actual end. Paradisical Babylon. Obtained key 16, raising loop. By determining the wolves and preventing the fatal rampage, the humans safely achieved victory. The mist cleared and the feast ended. All that was left was for me to propose to the woman who loved me, or so I thought. Everything returned to ash. Yasumisa was engulfed in mist again, and it seemed I looped. The basic problem remains unsolved. I must solve all the mysteries. But how? Sure. But again, I'm not gonna. Ah. A wedding celebrated by all.
Alright, but before that, go back to wit. Did we really get everything? I felt like... Alright, there's trust. Uh, yeah, do these lead to anything else? It didn't... The charts didn't look like they did. I'm pretty sure we... The first one we did was... Akumi? We never investigated... Ah... Hmm... Alright, so there's investigation 1. I mean 2, and then Alright, alright. Hmm. We can see that there are things that happen here, ways that they branch off. And I would assume that that's depending on who you investigate. Or, well, no, those aren't branching paths. I guess those are just for the titles. Alright. Um, I want to test some things, so I just want to see. Okay. We've got the doctor. Truth of the journalist. Okay. We'll go ahead and see if this changes anything. I doubt it'll change anything significant, other than just getting us new information. Uh, Alright, so it looks like we didn't investigate Haru, so... After obtaining the power of the snake and the feast, I investigated Hisako-san. She is a wolf. A shocking revelation. But I should be able to corner her with this. Yeah, I don't imagine this will change too much other than a couple scattered lines of dialogue, but we'll see. Hmm. Oh, yeah, that's a lot that's not the same. I mean, a lot that this... Uh... Hmm. So if we get through this and... we get to the point where she dies, I'll just assume that there's Nothing else that's going to be different. Oh, yeah, okay. Oop, not that one. Okay, truth of the girl. After obtaining the power of the snake in the face, I investigated Haru. She is human. Judging from her change in behavior, she probably isn't the badger this time. That's a load off my mind. Alright, well. Alright. So let's go past invest to first one. Are you? Here we go. I imagine this is another way to... Alright. Well, that seems to be about the same. So now let's go back to making the decisions about the accommodation. Enter the prefab myself. This was it. If I let Hashimoto-san take the prefab, his death would be unavoidable. By keeping him alive, I should be able to create a different timeline. Simply surviving wasn't enough. And that meant I had to try all possible options. Oh, I hope he doesn't become a wolf. That would be very sad. I had to reveal all the things I was ignorant or afraid of. For all I knew, I might have been overlooking some minor yet important details. But first, I wanted to try more impactful changes. Letting Hashimoto-san survive would have to greatly affect the timeline. That already happened once with Mamiya-san's survival. It even changed the guardians people received. I could still remember the last loop. I had become the snake, took out the wolves, and decided to live alongside the survivors. Most importantly, Rikako-san. Those sentiments had earned me an unreasonably cruel conclusion. I could still remember the sadness and despair. But I couldn't really understand it. Why had I forgotten my fear of the unknown? Why had it been so easy for me to decide to move to Yasumisu and live alongside Rikaku Uematsu-san? Ah, okay. They're actually going to acknowledge that. Was I that kind of person? I didn't know why, but it definitely seemed like I wasn't really myself back then. I felt like I'd become a part of something greater, not just an individual. The gears all snapped into place and brought forth that tragic ending. These feelings and guesses coming to my head left me without a clue as to where to go from here. Part of me did feel like fate or something divine existed, and that I couldn't escape its control no matter what. But my knowledge, discretion, perception, and intuition wanted to deny that line of thinking. There was no absolute fate. If there was something like that, it was either someone's elaborate plot, or just a product of my imagination that seemed like it. I wasn't being a conspiracy theorist here, or a nihilist for that matter. However, I wanted to reject lines of thinking that stifled my ability to come up with ideas. If I could think creatively, I might be able to find gaps in these seemingly impenetrable bars jailing me here. Usaishi-kun, is anything wrong? No, nothing. But since I'm going to stay there every day from now on, I think you should at least have it for one night. But... I heard that Fujiyoshi has a culture of giving guests a warm welcome. If I'm to become part of it, I think I should do the same. Traveler reverence? That fits the general location, but not the state of the village itself. Did you hear it from Higuchi-san? Ah, crap. That was info Rikako-san had given me last loop. Well, I've been treated nicely. They even gave me a place to stay. You're a generous person, aren't you? Huh? Nope, not at all. Why not accept his kindness, Hashimoto-san? I guess I will. All good. After parting ways with them, I went to Kaori-san and had her help me get a shabby blanket, some newspapers, and a water bucket. There was only one bucket they could let me use, and it was in a pretty bad state, showing once again just how dire Yasumisu's supply problem was. The newspapers weren't the daily news, but some old ones brought from Kami Fujiyoshi as material supplies. I spread them out on the floor and placed a blanket on them. That was my sleeping spot ready. I'd also brought a portable toilet at that convenience store. Now if nature called during the night, I wouldn't be faced with a difficult choice to either die or piss myself. Ah, what a choice, indeed. After finishing up the preparations, I, just like last time, returned to the dining hall. I was giving some shishinare again, and somehow ate it all. Oh, you ate it all? Was it to your liking? It's not bad, actually. That was a bit of a lie. I just came prepared for it because of my experience from last time. I still wasn't used to it enough to declare it good. Just what kind of booze would go with this? Then, like last time, I went on to fix plates. Last time, I'd learned the symbols of the Higuchi, the Uematsu, and when I'd gotten the snake, the Miguruma symbol, even if it wasn't too clear. The Nosato mansion had theirs on the gate, but now I knew them all. This info could possibly lead me to the truth, so I had to remember it. Some time passed, and like last time, the students came back. We're back. Huh? The bright yet tender Yasunaga Oribe. His tenderness was mostly towards his family, though. It was a very human trait, which was a good thing. I felt bad for him getting caught up in something like this. Whether he was an ally or enemy, the feast would greatly affect how it went. I didn't want him as an opponent, that much was certain. Don't know this guy. The free-spirited and slightly amoral Chikamochi Kamoshida. He'd left quite an impression on me. As a wolf, he was a threatening individual who could do horrible things with a straight face. But what would he be like this time? And then there was her, Haru Makishima. Last time she'd been brutally murdered, while the time before that she sided with the wolves as a badger. She wasn't much of a contributor to the feast. I considered her to be a troublemaker rather than anything else. But...
I see. So you rose. You've tried again several times, have you not?
Haru-chan was so lonely at night that she left the school we were staying at all by herself. Then she went through the mountain path and... I don't know. The adults said they found her in front of Yasumisu, and there were rumors she saw something there. I don't know if that's the reason why, but she started acting weird afterwards. People said she was possessed by a wolf.
She was the closest person to the mysteries surrounding Yasumisu. She'd lost her parents to the previous feast, disappeared once, then started talking strangely. To summon a god of that caliber, you must prepare an appropriate ritual. Possession by wolf is not something that can happen so easily. The village heads insisted that this wasn't any sort of possession, but a mental illness. However, the fact that it was treated using Uematsu's special ability to take in such things made it seem entirely possible that the trouble surrounding her was of divine origin. But there was something I didn't really understand. I didn't know how, but last time, Rikako-san healed me of acnite poisoning. I knew it with my own body that this ability was more than just a religious rite, and had an actual physical effect. That didn't necessarily mean that it would work on mental illnesses too. Honestly, there were way too many things that didn't make sense here. That is a corruption not even I can take in. I didn't know the rules. It kind of freaked me out, but for now I had no choice but to set Rikako-san's issues aside. What matters now was Haru-chan. She had parental issues, a strange relationship with her granddad. All in all, she was a delicate young girl going through a complicated time in her life, and I didn't quite know how to deal with her. Fooling around with her didn't work, and Casanova-type characters seemed to scare her. I'd try not to do much and appear harmless. Maybe that'd work. Welcome back. This is Musaishi-san. He suddenly moved here to Yasumisu. Hello. I bowed with an empty expression on my face.
Nii-chan, it's an android.
I had to do my best not to fall over at that. Huh? Why?
I mean, he's not acting human. Haru-chan's being even more rude than me.
I'm sorry, she watched a sci-fi movie recently. I'm human, just so you know.
Hello? I'm Haru Makishima.
She wasn't as wary of me as last time, at least. I still had no idea how to approach her.
Have we met?
Huh? No, this is my first time here.
I thought so.
Did she have memories of my seducing, of the previous loop?
What? Kaori-san, do you have a hand towel?
Something similar had happened last time too. It wasn't impossible that someone else had memories of the previous times. Particularly this girl, considering her mind held traces of madness.
What?
Crap, I stared at her for too long. I had to talk it off. No, actually, I feel like you're familiar too. Ever been to Kanto?
No.
I see, and this must be something special. What's wrong? You're all red.
No, I'm not.
Oh?
Huh? Was she easier than I expected? Maybe android-like coolness was the way to go with her. Whatever that was. Oribe-san, I have completed the repairs on these plates. Whatever should I do with them? Cool manner of speech, robotic movements. Playing with people's impressions was a bad habit I had. Oh, bring them here. Wait, weren't you talking differently until now? Acknowledged, executing, appreciated. Messerschmitt. Eat this, human banana! What, Mochi closed in on me, shouted some weird skill name, instantly undid my belt and, Some undies you got there? Hey, Chikamochi-kun. There are things you can and cannot do. Hey, when else could I have done that? Well, if you looked at this as a joke, this was definitely well-timed. My android-like coolness, whatever that was, instantly became a gag. Poor Haru. His skill left me so dumbfounded that I just froze in place with my pants down, effectively giving a treat for the ladies, and waiting for a response. How did the girls see this pantless android-like cool guy before her? And again, what was android-like coolness anyway? Can't scream. It's not his fault! Not a positive reaction, of course not. Mochi's prank effectively gave her the worst possible impression of me. Damn. Okay, she's just going to town. Haru-chan kicked my exposed ass over and over. The two boys stopped her, and then she, breathing heavily, fled the dining hall. The guys followed soon after, leaving just me and Kaori-san. Am I in the wrong here? I'll scold them later. She was all red ever since then. It was awkward as hell. I distracted myself by getting back to fixing plates. Eventually, we were joined by the old wolf guy, Meiko, and Rikako-san. I wasn't quite done with my job yet, but just like last time, I was giving a break, so I went outside.
Eat the donut bologna rice snows on the mountain.
Oh, Usaishi-san. I see you are hard at work. Getting close to Rikako-san was important for both survival and finding out the truth. I still had some affection for her, as well as memories of our time together. However, last time when I'd felt a similar way about Chiemi, I was hit with a big surprise. It wasn't just Chiemi, though. The Feast of the Yomi Purge seemed to bring out a total change in the nature of people. If Rikako-san became a wolf this time, I wasn't sure if she would instantly kill herself like she claimed she would. In fact, as a wolf, she would know Meiko's guardian or lack thereof, leaving the humans at a huge disadvantage. And most of all, if I got too close to her, it would make parting with her a whole lot harder. Even if I lost some of them, I had memories of the previous loops, so this was actually a big deal for me. The emotional strain would gradually pile up, and eventually, even a guy as warped as me would snap. Thus, I would only get close to people as friends. That was probably the best way to go about this. I had no idea who'd even be alive once all of this was over. It was even possible that there'd be no one left. It's an old song about the teachings of the great Lord Shinai-sama, the incarnation of this mountain. that keeps us alive. Inai-san's guardians are, and we've heard this so many times. He was teaching me the song. I actually knew it by heart at this point, and the memories it was tied to made it hard to listen to, but I acted like it was nothing. It took an uneasy tone. I looked away and saw Chiemi snickering as she waited for the right time to pop out.
Ten the Miss Rye is away again.
Oh, hello.
Huh?
You knew exactly what she was doing with the sudden appearance. How mischievous. Were you hunting or something?
Oh, no, but you're close enough. I just helped Kanzo Chi-chan prepare one of the beasts he hunted down.
I see. That suits you.
What the hell? That kind of hurts.
Crap. I accidentally remembered what she was like back then and gave a sarcastic comment. If she'd been telling the truth back then, she wanted to kill me ever since we first met. That meant that even now she was... Hold on. Did that mean that all that stuff I jokingly said about her being a murderer was on the mark? After all, the 2 shotguns were hitting in the room even then. Hold on. The first time we met, our very first encounter was among the rocks near Saranaga. I picked up her flashlight, then she called out to me. What was she even doing there? It was late at night, yet she'd taken a flashlight and gone down a dangerous cliff to reach a locally taboo area, Saranaga. She'd also said this. Listen, I just really wanted to kill. Yeah, I even returned back home just because I wanted to kill someone. Those might have been nothing but words to make herself seem like the big bad wolf she was. However, it wasn't unlikely that she'd come down to Saranaga because she was doing something worrying. Hello, Ziti. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for coming. We had the ending to our second loop, and goddamn, that one was He'd probably been there on this timeline too. We just hadn't met there. Maybe this time she'd actually finished whatever she was doing there. Well, no one had gone missing or anything, so it probably wasn't murder, at least. It still made me curious. I was definitely attracted to her cheer, tact, and mystery. But this time I would focus on exposing the secrets of Yasumisu itself. He who hunts 2 hares catches neither. I would only consider her to be a potential hazard. Hey, I'm just saying that your wild image suits hunting. You honestly seem like a feline animal, Chiemi-chan.
Oh, Chiemi-chan. I like that. Interesting letting a carnivore have a taste of you.
Huh? How indecent. Please, call me Rikako.
What the hell?
You can call me by my first name too. What a mess of an exchange. It would still serve to decide what we'd call each other. That was just fine by me.
You're flirting now, undie man.
Suddenly, we were joined by Haru-chan holding a stick.
Die!
Huh? I was actually getting chased by a girl because of lewd stuff. What was this, a 20th century manga?
Undie man.
Undie man.
Undie man.
I was worried that nickname would spread, and I really hoped it didn't. I couldn't have predicted that I'd run out of time just calming Haru-chan down and preventing the nickname from taking root in their minds. Yeah, Fusaishi has had a rough beginning here. The mist.
No way! No, not the mist!
Was she afraid of the mist because of whatever happened 8 years ago? Haru-chan, calm down. Chimi, where should you go? In the spur of the moment, I went and called her by her first name, which I was pretty sure she didn't like, but no one could care right now.
Take her to the dorm. Where will you go?
Oh, right. I've ended up staying in the prefab. Huh? Why there? What about the hut? I'll be staying there every day starting tomorrow, so I thought I had to let the visitor have the better place this time. Haruaki-sama. How considerate.
Stop wasting time! Hurry up! Ikako-san, you take Meiko-chan!
Very well. Meiko, it is time to cleanse, shelter, and dream.
Okay. Haruaki-san, I'll show you a shortcut, so let's go together. Haru-chan, can you walk? Miss, no. Breath chasing. Sounds of claws.
I looked at Chimi. She nodded, and I picked Haru-chan up.
No.
She was pale. Her expression was empty, and her body was shaking, locked in a fetal position. Just what had she seen in the mist? What had she gone through? I hesitantly tightened my grip on her. She meekly grabbed onto my jacket. I had no idea if I could get along with her, but it wasn't impossible. While on the move, I noticed Hashimoto-san head to the hut I provided him, so all seemed good on that front. After leaving Haru-chan in her dorm room, I said goodbye to her, Chimi, and the two guys there, who were waiting for Haru-chan in worry, before making my way to the construction site.
You can get there easily through the path behind the dorm. Don't slip along the way.
She also told me how to prepare for the feast and was generally pretty nice about it, too. It was pretty annoying that I couldn't just tell her that I knew it all. By the time I'd arrived at the prefab, the sun was down. I'm quickly going to go refill my tea. Be right back. Back. Oh, yes. Yes. By the time I'd arrived at the prefab, the sun was down. I began by checking how I'd fare here. I'd take only the bare minimum of food and water I had here. I came prepared, but I didn't want to have to use the bathroom until morning.
Oh,
Oh, hello, Game Xerox. Thank you very much. And welcome to the stream if you have just arrived. Very much appreciate having you here. I'd only taken the bare minimum of food and water I had here. I came prepared, but I didn't want to have to use the bathroom until morning. This was the shabbiest sleeping spot yet, but since I was still pretty awake, that allowed me to think a bit more. It was time to assess the situation. First of all, there were two things I had to keep in mind. How Yudai Hashimoto-san joining would affect the feast, and whether I could find out much about the feast and Fujiyoshi from Haru Makishima. The former would probably be made obvious by tomorrow. If he died despite all I'd done this time, I'd be all out of ways to help him survive. I'd have to start considering if there was something inhuman at work that was actively trying to prevent him from joining. If he did join the feast, though, the guarding assignments would definitely change. Just like they had when Mamiya-san and I joined, I am really hoping that we become a wolf this time. That would be neither good nor bad. Though I don't know. I guess I don't know how that would function. Like, what would the choices be then? How we try to manipulate things? That would be neither good nor bad. However, the info I'd gained the first time when I couldn't participate at all, and the second time when I'd participated as the snake, were completely different. Naturally, there was a change in human relationships and who benefited from them, and now, with this change, I would get to know people I hadn't interacted much with yet. Especially Haru-chan. I could only hope that being the undie man didn't result in her avoiding me. Yeah, you're right, there's no other way that he'd be able to get all the answers. And as we know now, winning doesn't free us. That reminded me, Mochi was the reason for my new title. Was he the biggest obstacle in my path towards the truth? Nah, he wouldn't admit it, but the guy liked Haru-chan and was jealous that I was getting between them. Oh, so he was the one who killed Haru-chan last time. Was the sad face I saw on him the day after just an act? I had no idea, but I could totally imagine him killing her, only to regret it right after. Oh yeah, Yasunaga-kun also revealed his feelings for Chiemi right before she killed him, didn't he? She instantly shot him down, though. It seemed like she felt the same way the first loop, so that was probably true. Though she wouldn't have, like, not even a beat of hesitation and just being like, nah. Or maybe I just wanted to think that way. Then again, being liked by Chiemi meant that she wanted to kill you, so I wasn't sure if I was happy about that. That aside, as a wolf and as a human, he was a player skilled at debate and consideration. His words were rarely far from the mark, and he had influence over his mother and friends' votes. He wasn't self-righteous or some kind of loner, and with a good backer spurring him on, he could be an excellent human player. If he was a wolf, though, I'd instantly know it from his lack of enthusiasm towards the feast. Maybe that would be considered cheating, but whatever. Meanwhile, though Chiemi had done some bold things during the last feast, he wasn't a very active participant in the meetings themselves. That was probably because, just like Mochi, he played cautiously as a wolf and avoided drawing attention to herself. Taking that into account, Chiemi's whole hang me act on the first day was pretty impressive. It was bold for a wolf to make a self-sacrificing play at that stage, but it was at a point where people weren't yet ready to hang anyone, human or wolf.
She'd managed to make herself look like a human without any real risk, and kept the act going until the end. I'd heard that Chiemi had a decently big impact on the feast I didn't participate in. If she became a human, she would surely be a valuable asset to the humans. Honestly, since we have knowledge that he doesn't, there actually wasn't that big a significance and difference in how she acted in both feasts. So we can't really use the same system with Yasunaga with her. Personally, I didn't want to be enemies with her again, but I had no idea what she thought of me right now, before the feast had even begun. She herself had told me that she'd always wanted to kill me, which meant that the kindness she displayed to me so far could have been an act. That wasn't a pleasant thought. Rikako-san too seemed to be pretty fond of me. That was probably because of her idea that I was a special person who could do something about the feast. I wanted to do something about it, but saw no possible way at this point. I couldn't help but worry that I'd disappoint her again. She was pretty passive in the feast, and her votes often prioritized local folklore and fairness. She did some pretty dangerous things though, like trusting me without any real reason to. However, as a descendant of the Uematsu family, she knew full well just how scary the feast was, and how to deal with it. The fact that she knew Meiko's position was pretty important too, and would surely be important now. I wasn't sure about Meiko herself though. If she got a guardian and Rikako-san handled her well, it'd all be good. But if that wasn't the case, I couldn't expect much from her in the feast, and her votes were based on how she felt at the moment. She could be an uncertain factor and nothing more. Rikako-san let her vote as she pleased, probably to hide that they were communicating, which wasn't great. The old man who cried wolf was even worse though. What the hell was that guy? Senile old man? It really didn't seem like it. Hanzo-san had said that he'd survived the previous feast. He had never said anything important during the feast, but had a vote worth the same as everyone else's. He also pretended to be the spider last time. Though Rikako-san came out as the spider as Meiko's representative, she was essentially the real thing. Claiming to be the spider despite that was only meaningful if you were the badger. After all, if the badger presented themselves to the wolves once enough humans were out of the game, they would have a latent ally, which would be pretty good for them. And if he was capable of thinking that much, it meant that he wasn't just senile. Quite the opposite, in fact. But that idea didn't click with the fact that he'd always ended up getting hanged. What was he even after? I had more than enough evidence to conclude he was insane, but that just made spending time thinking about him more of a pain. Now, while Kanzo-san's actions and goals were obvious, he was hard to control. He had been handling the feast based on his experience from the other ones. It was a relatively logical approach, but he wasn't flexible at all. He was extremely overbearing when it came to the flow of the conversation, and didn't mind making unnecessary sacrifices, which eventually led to a lack of stability. He also had a weak point in Haru-chan. When it concerned her, he could become dangerous and violent. The other elder, Tai Yamawaki-san, was simply a hyper-traditionalist who resented the younger folks. In certain situations, it was easy to get her to vote right, but in others, she was nothing but a hindrance. She was also Takumi-san's, a key person's, weak point, and handling that whole matter was difficult. Tai-san's opposite was Yoshitsugu Oribe. He didn't care about tradition and hated the elders, as well as the village heads. He was also the intense type, and could easily mess up the feast. It was also possible for him to make peace with his mother and brother, and enter the Yasunaga-kun faction. But if left to his own devices, he could break the rules and get eliminated from the game on the first night. Handling him was difficult. His mother, Kaori-san, was generally a passive player who followed Yasunaga-kun, but she had a tendency to do unexpected things. When Yoshitsugu-kun had died, she tried to poison everyone's food, and she'd also tried to bend the feast rules and leave a dying message. She was the sole source of decent food here, and honestly, I wanted her and her sons to survive until the end. Then there was the man who understood and loved her, Takumi-san. He was important as the facilitator and mediator, keeping Yasumizu unified, despite the tribulations of the feast. He had a lot of weaknesses, though, such as his antagonism towards outsiders and the village head, as well as his tendency to do unnecessary stuff on his own. However, all of it was outweighed by his popularity, charisma, and sheer strength, which were useful every now and then. Overall, he was someone I wanted to depend on. He really had to form a trusting relationship with his brain, though. Now, Kyunosuke no Satoshi was pretty hard to evaluate. He often said things that didn't have to be said, couldn't read the mood, and tended to create conflicts between himself and Yasumisa's people, but despite expectations, he ended up surviving. He actually wasn't wrong most of the time, but his presentation alone often ruined it completely. He was one of the few village heads in the group, so I could at least count on him to prevent any unfair votes towards Rikako-san. But besides that, I just remembered that he was a doctor. Couldn't he examine the dead bodies? Why did I have to do it when we had him around? He hadn't insisted on examining a single corpse so far. Was it because he was afraid of dead bodies or something? What the hell? That kind of joke wasn't funny in a situation like this. Besides them, there were the journos. Mamiya-san had been pretty much manipulated by Chiemi, so reading her was hard. If she could keep her cool, she could probably make some decent contributions to the feast. Also, I felt that her knowledge of folklore and occult stuff would be necessary for my current main goal, finding out the truth. As for Hashimoto-san, he hadn't survived this night even once thus far, so I couldn't say anything about him. However, though the first impression had made him seem like nothing but some fat guy, classy, Fusaishi, he did show an impressive capacity for logic and reason. If both Mamiya-san and Hashimoto-san survived, I imagined they would perform really well in the feast. Of course, it was hard for them to pass the barrier all outsiders faced here. Then there was myself. I was the most suspicious here, and the one most likely to get hanged. Last time, I'd been able to survive because I was the snake and leveraged my role well. It helped me get Takumi-san and Rikako-san over to my side, as bad as that sounded. However, there was no guarantee that it would happen again. It was best to assume it wouldn't. In that situation, I'd have focus on helping my side emerge victorious with myself still alive, rather than just helping my side emerge victorious. Even if I could loop, there was no guarantee that I couldn't get into a situation where I would be hanged no matter what. That was a heavy thought to have, but I had to believe I could make it and keep pushing onwards. I had to keep going. Curious thought, if we ever do get hanged at some point, since they actually have that mantra about not rising up, I don't know, it's just curious if that would have any sort of effect or bring us any sort of insight. Suddenly, I felt drowsiness come over me. Had I been so busy during the day that I'd end up more tired than I thought? It was time to clean myself. I took off my clothes, wiped my body,
switched into my spare underwear, and that was that. Then again, we don't know if all the other times we have died from different ways. Oh yeah, you might be right. I think you're right. It was time to cleanse myself. I took off my clothes, wiped my body, switched into my spare underwear, and that was that. Then I locked the shabby-looking lock and returned to my bed, if you could call it that. What would I do if my door was suddenly knocked down and some crazy werewolf monster came in? I tried to keep myself on my toes, but my brain knew that wasn't how the feast worked. So it just relaxed and led me to sleep. I'd be safe today. I wouldn't die today. I'd think about what came next later. I felt a strange pain all over. Oh, I think it's happening. Uh-huh. Yep, it is. Because they explained to us the sensations that people feel, and I'm pretty sure they said all over the body was woof. Next, I felt that something was way too red. I could see the light of the outside through my eyes. I thought that meant it was dawn. That wasn't the case. The morning sun had a bitter orange color, but this red right here was darker and colder. It also felt like my eyes weren't even closed. Why was I unconscious with my eyes open? Not only did my body hurt, but it was cold as well. Too cold. I was sleeping on the ground. My hair was on some gravel, while my hands felt grass and mist. It was cold. My senses awakened. No. It was more like something that had been cut off had suddenly returned. It wasn't quite the same as a typical morning, and the bizarre sensation took me a moment to adjust to. I was outside. The moment I realized that, all blood left my face. I tried to jump up, but then I realized my body was sluggish, and that my body temperature was extremely low. Had I been out in this cold mist for that long? My mind was in better condition than my body, at least. I was outside anyway. Had I broken some taboo I didn't know about? Did the prefab count as outside? Would I be taken outside and killed because of it? Maybe there wasn't even need for a reason like that. It could have been that I'd be used as an example. If Yudai Hashimoto-san did the feast prep this time, no one would die tonight. But perhaps that was a bad thing for Great Lord Shinai. The existence of the penalty, the corruption, was best made through example. A simple mess of a corpse was enough to prevent people from trying to escape or walking out at night. However, if no one broke that rule, no example could be made. But it was actually entirely possible to make an example without anyone breaking any laws. If there was a corpse tomorrow, everyone would just assume that the victim had broken the law. No one would question the Punisher's decision. Well, we hadn't had any unexplainable victims of the corruption thus far. That was my assumption, anyway. Rikako-san going nuts made absolutely no sense, but it wasn't even clear if that was the corruption, so I would just leave it at that. Besides that, all instances of the corruption so far seem to have completely plausible causes behind them, so I'd assume that the Punisher was fair. But could I trust their benevolence? Now? In this situation? I was an outsider who was barely known here, and that kind of made me the best person to make an example out of. Had I been too optimistic to assume I wouldn't die today? My throat was dry, which made me feel even colder. My irritation and panic broke my tolerable limits, and I finally regained my senses and control over my body. There was red light all around me. Its source was distant, but it lit up the entire mist, giving it a bewitching, unsettling shine. It made me both uneasy and scared. It reminded me of the first mist I'd ever seen, even though it was late night right now. However, unlike the first time, I didn't feel any beasts nearby. I strained my eyes to look into the mist, and realized that I had someone at my side. Or rather, that I realized that there was a humanoid silhouette within the red light. It was a girl. Haru Makishima. Oh. Haru-chan. As I tried to stand up, I staggered pathetically and collapsed again. I could barely even speak. She noticed me, slowly turned her face toward me, and looked down at me with eyes showing no hint of emotion, thought, or life. She was even smiling a bit. Usaishi-san. I heard my name. It surprised me, but I somehow turned to the other side and saw Kaori Oribe-san. Her eyes and expression were almost exactly like Haru-chan's. God is coming. Was I still half asleep? Was this some sort of dream? Why were they here anyway? But if I could actually see the god that Chiemi, Rikako-san, and Haru-chan talked about, I would accept it in a heartbeat. I turned to that direction that those two were facing. In red, misty darkness, I saw the outline of a large tree. It was the hanging pine. That meant that this was the graveyard. Hello, buddies! And there were 3 lights, or rather sets of them, within the mist. It took me a moment, but I realized they were eyes. The vague silhouette seemed human, and yet not human at the same time. Was that God? Why had they appeared before us? Questions filled my head. My thoughts became dull, my sense of logic froze, and my vision contracted. Suddenly, God spoke. Look here, for I will tell ye the true legend. It was like a rumble, but it was definitely a voice. We will now tell you the true legend. I tried to follow what he said. The wolf was not fully dead. The wolves aren't dead yet. Truly, it was mankind that has been dead. It's the humans that are dead. Mankind. Snake. Ape. Crow. Spider. Humans, snake, monkeys, crow, spider. All creation is the making of Yomi. All of them have risen up from Yomi. The laws of the mountain's eyes. Well, the law of the mountain says that they all must be killed. You were chosen to be the wolves. Destroy the Yomibito and purify the mountain and river. A noble gift we give you, we will give something to you. You shall wear this and cleanse yourself? You must wear it and cleanse yourselves. Do this and the wicked mist shall yieldeth no harm. Do that and the corrupt mist shall not harm you. By cause of the dark mist, but since the mist is so dense, we will also send you the badger. Tomorrow night at this time, alone Yomibito we shall inspire to be your sworn brethren. Tomorrow night we shall inspire one of the Yomibito to become your ally. This badger would be a guardian, and it is our help to you. Huh, so the wolves always got such a detailed explanation. They were low in number. Humans received other guardians. They were under pressure to lie at all times, and were surely conflicted about so many things. The wolves were actually at quite a disadvantage here. However, they had more information. They knew their allies and enemies, and about the existence of the traitor unknown to the humans. Anyway, draw the blood of one human a night. Anyway? Seriously? Did he have any idea how hard that was? Otherwise, you will be the ones to die. Threats too, huh? Do not doubt this. He just repeated it, for effect, surely. He really wanted us to believe him. So the three of us were wolves. I had no idea if that was true. Hell, I didn't even know if this was real or not. Then the red light became weaker, or my consciousness began to fade. I had no idea. And soon enough, it was all dark. My body hurt. The familiar sensation made me open my eyes slightly. I saw the bright but shabby inside of the prefab. Through the dirty, curtainless window, I saw the mist outside. This was reality, wasn't it? I lifted my upper body, turned a bit, moved my head, pinched my cheek. It all felt real. I then tried to stand, and I could. Looking at my phone, which was about to run out since this place had no electricity, I saw the correct date, and that it was 8 o'clock. I'd slept in pretty late. Remembering something, I lifted the bottom of my shirt and looked at my stomach. What I saw made me freeze. The Lord of the Hunt, the Wolf, slay all the Yomibito, cleanse and purify, or die. And with that, I think I will go ahead and end the stream right here, and I am so stoked. I am so excited. Oh, we're probably gonna get a lot of answers, and I'm just so curious to see how this plays out. Well, thank you all so very much for coming on by for the rest of this week. This Friday and Sunday at 8 p.m. EST over on the Twitch, it's going to be Final Fantasy XIV, where I will be doing the Elden Walker Hildebrand questline. And then on Saturday at 9 p.m. EST on Twitch as well, it will be the Animorphs reading stream. We will be back to raging. Yes. Just know that it's torture for me as well. Yeah, so next Raging Loop will be Monday, and then of course Wednesday, 8 p.m. EST. Hope that you all have a wonderful time zone wherever you are, and as always, please do take care of yourselves and each other. Toodaloo-hoo!